All right, so I want to tell you how I've started. I've created a folder on my desktop that says Bear logo. You can see it over here. Inside it, I have this hand-drawn text and I have a flyer. So I've already done that. And then what I'm also about to do is what I should always do, which is to start Illustrator and then reset the preferences to default. So let me see if I can show you that. Unfortunately, okay. So here I'm going to come into edit, go down to preferences, go to general, and then I'm going to click on reset preferences and press OK, and it's going to restart. So that's how I'm always starting my project. All right, so Illustrator has restarted. I'm going to make a new file this time. I'm going to go over to print letter, which is fine. I'm going to come over here and title it Wilkerson K underscore their logo. Okay. And then I'm going to turn this into a square. So I'm going to well, first of all, I'm going to change this to inches. And then I'm going to do 8. I'm going to tab to my different things by 8. It's portrait. And I'm going to um, press create. Okay. So this is my artboard. Now I'm going to do file saves, and I'm going to continue to do file save. For this one, I'm going to go into my desktop, into my Bear logo. It says Wilkerson K underscore Bear logo, and I'm going to save it. Okay, and I'm going to accept the defaults on that. So those are all just kind of the tedious but necessary steps. Now, one of the things I want to do is change my workspace. So I'm going to come in here to workspace and make sure that essentials is what is checked. That's just so that your screen looks like my screen. And now we're going to be working with shapes. And do you see here in the toolbar, right now there's a rectangle. This is going to change over time because look, there's also an ellipse tool, which we're going to use, a polygon tool, a star tool, and a line segment. We're going to use them all today, but we're going to start with the rectangle, okay? So when we come over here, we are just going to draw a rectangle. We're not going to worry about the size right now, and the width and the height show up as we do it. We could use that to do the right size, but we're not going to right now. Okay, so if we want to move this around, we could go back to direct selection, but if we're in this, shape tool, we can also go to the center and move it around that way, okay? Now we're going to create a smaller rectangle. You know what? I'm going to do a smaller rectangle here. And this rectangle, I'm going to put here, and I'm going to come over here to my properties box, okay? And this is already selected. And so I'm going to change the width of it to 2.3. And I'm going to change, you know what? I don't know why I did that. 2.3. Then I'm going to change the height to 1.3. Okay. So that is the size of this. And this rectangle is going to be the head. I'm going to choose the selection tool, okay? And I'm going to also just kind of check, we're going to be toggling up and down. Smart Guide should be on right now. That kind of helps us, gives us a lot of information and, centering and other things that are helpful. So just double checking that that's on. Now I'm going to click on this larger rectangle. Remember, I'm in the selection tool. I clicked on this, and I'm going to drag the middle point of the rectangle. So I'm going to drag the bottom middle point down until I see I have a height of 4.6 inches. I'm not great on that. That's why I prefer kind of putting that in the I prefer doing it in the properties box. So that is that's how long I made it. So I did 4.6 inches. And then in the transform, and I'm going to make the width about 4 inches or so. So that's what it looks like. So I've got a big rectangle and I have a small rectangle. Okay. So I'm going to make this a little bit. I'm going to try another way to resize it. So in the transform over here, I'm going to, with this selected, okay, so I have it selected. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click off the maintain width and height proportions. Okay, so normally that means that as I make it shorter, it is proportionate. But now I'm going to unselect it, and then I'm going to make my width here 2.9 inches. So I was wrong earlier when I did that as 4. So I'm going to do it like that, 2.9. And so that is what I've got. And then, of course, I still need to make my height 4.6. Okay. So now I have my so I want to do my 2.9 and my 4.6. Okay. So there's my rectangle. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is rotate it. And if I want to rotate it, I can just kind of do this, and it's, sort of laborious. The other thing I can do is I can hold down the shift button and it will rotate. Let me put this in here. So if I go close to it and then I hit the shift, and it will rotate in 45 degrees, which is kind of helpful, right? I kind of screwed up at the very beginning because I made it, changed it before I rotated it. So there I've got my 90 degrees. So that's the body of the bear. This is the head. I'm going to right now kind of put them, I want you to do something similar. So it looks about like that. Okay. So let's change the color of the shapes. So with the smaller one rectangle, I'm going to click on fill, and I'm going to pick a dark brown. Okay. I'm going to pick kind of a dark brown. And I'm going to select the stroke option and put that down to 0. Okay. And now I'm going to select the body of the bear, do the same thing. Now that color appears in my recent colors. And then I'm going to put stroke down to 0. Okay. So now I'm going to round. It doesn't really look much like a bear, so I'm going to round some corners. And so I want to get closer in now, and there's 2 ways I can do that. I can do view, zoom in, and since that's selected, that will become the center of it. But so I'm going to select the larger thing, and then I'm going to drag any of these live corners. Those are those little circles inside, any of them, and I'm going to drag it until it's as far as it goes, and that's when those red circles appear. Okay. So now I'm going to click the smaller triangle here, and I'm going to drag any of the live corners just to round it a bit like that. So you can see when I did that, all four corners rounded. If I only want to round one corner, what I can do is just click on it. And did you see that changed a little bit? Let me see if I can get closer in so you can kind of see. So if I click on this, it changes, right? It's blue on the outside, white on the inside. The other ones are white and blue. So once I've done that, I'm going to drag it away to remove the rounding. So just that one. So the other three stayed, but that one went. Okay, that one unrounded. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the lower right and I'm going to click on it and release. You have to do that first. And I'm going to round this corner as much as possible. Okay, so that's what that looks like. So that's, a little bit challenging to do. So we can also change the corner type. That was kind of that simple rounded corner. That was the default. So I'm going to go here into Fit Artboard and Window, and I'm going to make a copy of this body. So to make a copy, I'm going to do Edit, Copy. Then I'm going to deselect and I'm going to do Edit, Paste. I'm going to drag this one further down. Okay. So I see the whole artboard here, and I'm going to change some of the corners here. So in the Properties panel, under Transform, I'm going to click on More Sections. And down here, I have some different options when I click on one of these. It gives me some more options. But I want to tell you something tricky. I don't know if you remember it, but we rotated this. So normally we would say this corner type is this lower left, this corner type is this lower right, but it's not that way because we've rotated it. So that gets a little tricky. So I want to change this lower left and this lower right. Normally I would go to in the properties to this lower left and this lower right, but I'm not going to do that, okay? So one of the first things I need to do is here in the middle where it says link corner radius values, I'm going to turn it off, okay? So it's off. So that's very important. And now I'm going to try and figure out which corner I'm doing, okay? So I want to change the corners to 0. So I want to see if that is this one. I want to change the lower left and lower right hand corners. So I'm going to see which one. Okay, yeah. So that's doing the lower left hand. So I'm going to just keep doing that until it's 0. Okay, and then I'm going to try and see, I want the lower right hand. Nope, that's not that one. Let me see if it's this one. Nope, not that one either. So it is this one. Okay, so this is what it looks like right now. Okay, and then I want to change the corner type in the upper two up here. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to do the corner type. Look at me in properties. And I'm going to change this to chamfer, which is this, okay? All right. And I'm going to make, I'm going to change both of those to chamfer. Okay. But I want to make those, the corner radius smaller. Right now it's 1.5. I want to make it 1 up. You know what? I did enter, so now I need to go back into my options. Okay. All right. So that's what I've done. And I want to make this smaller. So I'm going to right now here, come into here, and I'm going to make it smaller. What I want to do, the width is 2.9, but I'm going to make the height 3.1. So, okay. So I've kind of changed those rounded corners. I'm going to use that later. And so right now I'm going to deselect by clicking elsewhere. And I'm going to create an ellipse. So an ellipse is a circle. So I'm going to hold on to my rectangle tool, come down to ellipse. Now it changes to a circle. And I am going to, in just a second, hold on. So I'm going to take that ellipse and I want it to be a circle. So I'm going to hold down the shift key. So it is, I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to make this eye bigger than it's going to be in the future, just so that I can see it. And then I'm going to zoom into this circle. So I'm going to do Control plus. I'm going to do Control plus again. Okay. Now I want to show you a trick. So right now it's brown fill because that's what we were using before. I want to change it and to go to the default. So D for default, I press the D button. And it changes, and the default is a black stroke, 1 point, white fill. Okay, so that's kind of a nice starting point. Okay, so what I'd like to do is over here in the stroke part, I'm going to actually change this stroke to 19 points. Okay, so very big. Okay, and so I'd like, though, for the outside to be white and the inside to be black. So there is something that I can use over here in the toolbar. So do you see where I am? So it's here in kind of the lower third. I can click on this one that says swap, fill, and stroke. So I'm going to click on that, and there it changes. Okay. So I am going to go back into view artboard. I could also do Control 0 or Control O. And I am going to drag the circle by the blue center dot because I'm still in circle mode. And I'm going to drag it over to about where it's going to be, about, okay? And I want to make this eye smaller. So if I just start making this smaller, 19 point is going to stay, but I want it to be proportional. So I'm going to click the More Options button, and I am going to select Scale, Strokes, and Effects down here. Okay. And I'm going to shift drag the circle to make it smaller. Okay, so I'm going to shift drag it. And then that makes the point, kind of smaller as well. Okay. And then I'm going to drag where I want it. I'm going to click on, go to the midpoint to drag it where I want my eye. Probably want it there, maybe just a little bit smaller. Okay. And then I'm going to do Control S to save it. Remember to save your thing a lot. Okay. All right. So with this circle still selected, I'm going to zoom in. Okay. And I want to align it. So I'm going to click the word stroke, not the square, but the word stroke now. And right now it is aligned here, says align stroke to center, but I want to align stroke to outside. And I want you to look at this. Okay, so it just changed a little bit. And now I need to make this circle just a little bit smaller. Okay. Um, you know what? I don't think that I should have done shift when I did that. So I'm gonna change this a little bit. So it's a little more proportional. Okay. So that's my eye. Okay. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pie shape. So first I'm going to select, deselect, so nothing is selected. And I'm going to, I still have this ellipse tool selected, and I'm going to make an ear of the bear, of the circle of the bear. So I'm going to over here, I'm going to hold down shift to make a perfect circle, right? Okay. So there's what I've got. Okay. So do you see that if I come here, you know what? Actually, um, I need to get a lot closer on this so you can see everything that I'm about to do. So, so what I'm doing is that there is right over here. See when on this little outside thing, when I click on it, look at that tiny shape next to it. It looks like a circle with a bite taken out of it. What I'm going to do with that is this is the pie start angle. I'm going to drag it around the bottom. Okay. And then I'm going to drag this one around here. Okay. And what I really want to do here is I want to make this, I want to exactly cut it in half. And so down here, I'm going to, in this contextual taskbar, I'm going to click on ellipse properties, and I'm going to choose, this is the pie start button. I'm going to kind of highlight this. Um, and I'm going to uh, do 90. I'm going to do tab to go to the other one. And I'm going to make this 270. And then I'm going to press that. Okay, so now it is a perfect half. And I'm going to go back to the artboard. So I could do, for view, I could do view fit to artboard, but instead I'm going to do control, not that, do control 0. That takes me back here. And I'm going to drag the half circle on top of the head of here. Okay. So I think there's a couple things I want to do. One is I want to rotate it a little bit. The other one is I want to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to hold down the shift so I still have that. And then I also want to change the fill, and I want the fill to be a little bit lighter brown than the rest. So I'm going to do it like that color. Okay. And that is let's see how that looks here. What I just did there, I did something wrong. I know what I did. I need to get rid of the stroke. Okay. So that's what I did. That's the ear. I'm going to make it just a tiny bit bigger. I'm going to hit the shift button to constrain it. That's the ear of my bear. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some lines. So here's where my ellipse is in the toolbox. I'm going to come down here to line segment. Okay. And I am going to draw a line. I'm going to hold down the shift. Okay, so I've got I'm going to hold down my line. And there's my line. Okay. And I'm going to click the stroke button. I'm going to click the stroke color box. And I'm going to make the swatches option. I'm going to make sure that swatches is done. And I'm going to make it the same color as the body of the bear. So now that shows up here in my recent colors. So I'm just going to do that dark brown. Okay. And now I'm going to come over here to the stroke. I'm going to make sure that this line is selected. I'm going to make sure that this line is selected, and I'm going to increase this to a crazy 90 point. Okay. So that's what that looks like. Okay. So this is what I've gone. So now I'm going to change this to selected. I'm going to come over here. This is a little like, to me, I'm thinking of this as a rectangle, so I wanted to come over here to rotate it, but it's a line, so I have to go over to the center part, and I'm going to do it until it is vertical like that. I'm going to move this over. And this is also hard because I'm kind of looking for, yeah. So got my direct selection, and I'm going to move it over. And to me, this is just a little bit too big. So I'm going to shorten it. Okay. And I'm going to put it back kind of further in. So remember, this is a line, so it behaves a little bit different. I'm looking for that center point. And now I am going to edit, copy. Okay. And then I'm going to edit, paste in front. Okay. So I'm going to bring this over. And those are my two legs, which is great. Okay. I'm going to do just one more thing for this video. We'll do more things later, but right now I want to put some claws here. So I'm going to come back up here. It's a line, not a rectangle, because we changed it to line, and I'm going to come down to my polygon tool. Okay. So that's what I've got. And I'm going to, for this one, I'm going to turn my smart guides off because I'm going to be kind of doing some different things. Nothing is selected. I'm double checking. Nope, nothing is selected. And I am going to press, hold down shift, and I'm going to make a polygon. Okay, so there is my polygon. Okay, I'm going to check the fill color box. And I'm going to change the color to a lighter brown. Okay. Okay. Um, and uh, and then I am going to also change the stroke to 0. So there's no stroke. And did you see what happened? That stroke was still 90. And so that's why it was so big and it was so dark blue, so dark brown. But now it's kind of back to where I need it to be. Okay. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Actually, what I'm going to do is do Control here so I can kind of see it really well. I'm going to edit this polygon here. So I am still in the polygon tool. And I'm going to drag the little side widget. Do you see it over here? It's this little diamond here. And I'm going to drag it up to change the number of angles until I have 3 sides, until it's a triangle. Okay. So I'm going to File, Save it. I think I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to shift it and make it bigger. Okay. And then I'm going to go View, Fit Artboard and Window, and I'm going to drag this up here, okay? And then I'm going to Control Plus, so I'm really close and see this. So that's what I've got here, but one thing that I want to do is I want to change the rounded corners a little bit. I want to round this so it's not quite so um, you know, severe. And so for this, because I'm going to round that, I need to go to the direct selection button. Okay. And then the live corners appear. Okay. You know what? I kind of screwed up on that. What I want to do is I just want to click on the right one because I only want this bottom one to be rounded. So I'm going to just round it slightly like that. Okay. All right. So there I've got, I have one. So I'm going to view my artboard. And I'd like to have another one that goes here. So I could edit copy and all of that, but instead what I'm going to do is hold down my Alt button. Actually, I'm going to go to direct selection, hold down my Alt button, and then drag one over, and that makes a copy. Okay. And I have more to do, but I think that's enough for one day. So let's do File, Save, and then I can open this up tomorrow.